Here we go. Welcome to the Maine Zone. I am Jermaine. Thank you for tuning to my podcast. Wherever you are or however you're listening, I'll let you know I really appreciate that. Whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or watching on YouTube, thank you very much. Hope everybody's safe and healthy out there. Today's podcast, we're going to pass out the NBA awards and then give you my predictions of the first round of the NBA playoffs. But before we do that, just let you know, I hope you enjoyed last week's podcast about creating a legacy part 1. I'm going to dive back into that in the next couple of weeks. I actually really enjoyed it, that discussion. It allowed me to face some of my own realities and also give myself kind of like a pep talk. I mean, like I stated in the podcast, it's very difficult building from the ground up. But let's go on to the news. All right, we're still waiting for the cops to be arrested for the murder of Breonna Taylor. Joe Biden has selected his VP. He has selected Senator Kamala Harris out of California. Congrats to her as a black female VP. She went to Howard University. Quick plug to the HBCUs. She's a prime example of my podcast last week about building a legacy. I mean, she's the daughter of a immigrant Jamaican father and an Indian mother. What an example she is to all the young minority ladies to set such high aspiring goals. As with anything in life, it makes it easier to achieve a goal if you see someone that has broke through and looks like you. Former President Obama gave his glowing endorsement, and we're going to have to expect him to aid his former VP and Kamala Harris in the next 2.5, 3 months before the election. You already know former President Obama is going to have some time to speak and really, 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 really sell Joe Biden. President Trump's younger brother, Robert Trump, passed away last night. He was 71 years old. That's all I have to say about, let's say, politics. I mean, outside the fact that everybody needs to get out and exercise your right to vote. Big ups real quick to LeBron James and the Dodgers organizing, using Dodger Stadium, possibly as a place to vote this coming election. To other news, I'm back to work. School's back in session. What a difference. Teaching and working online is just so different than being in the actual school. I know it's safer being online, but it's very different, especially for someone like me who likes to interact with people and walk around a lot during my day. I mean, sitting at a computer for like 6 hours is actually extremely tough. We're at 169,000 people that have died from COVID-19. Number keeps rising every time I do a podcast. Seems like each day, we're up by, 2 to 5,000. Now, pop culture news. Whoo, what a video by Cardi B. Now, I'm just going to say this. Whole lot of, let's say, plastic and skin in the video. Not too bad. I mean, I hear the lyrics. People are complaining about the lyrics. I mean, that's stuff I heard back in the day in the 90s, rap music in the 90s was saying things. Worse than that. No problem with the video other than, Kylie Jenner. Not a big fan. I mean, she's like 100% plastic. If you've looked at a before and after pic of her, I mean, her kid's not even going to know what a picture of her own mother looks like from back in the day. Just not a real big fan of Kylie Jenner. I didn't think she was just an add-on to the video, which, I mean, she's just trash. Sorry. The Big Ten has canceled all fall football. They will transition to the spring. But on that note, Justin Fields actually started a petition for football to happen in the fall. The Big Ten commissioner stated, here's a quote, "The mental and physical health and welfare of our student athletes has been at the center of every decision we have made regarding the ability to proceed forward. As time progressed and after hours of discussion with our Big Ten Task Force of Emerging Infectious Diseases and the Big Ten Sports Medicine Committee, it has become abundantly clear that there was too much uncertainty regarding potential medical risk to allow our student athletes to compete this fall." That comes from the the Big Ten commissioner. The Pac-12 has canceled their football season. But the But the Big 12 is actually having their football season. And then Alabama AD went on record saying that Alabama wants to play football. That's all college football news, other than the fact that you're going to see a lot of players probably sit out this year if big conferences decide to play. A little bit NFL news. Alex Smith, remember him in November of 2018? He had a horrific leg injury, which ended up him having 17 surgeries since then. You can check out the ESPN documentary on his journey back from the injury, but he's actually been cleared for football activities. George Kittle, the amazing tight end for the San Francisco 49ers, just signed a 5-year, $75 million contract. Matthew Stafford and Georgia coach Kirby Smart set an endowment of $500,000 to the Georgia University for social justice in the athletic department. All NFL training camps are underway. So far, some of the biggest news has been the Seahawks had to cut a cornerback, Kima Silveran, this week after he was caught on video trying to sneak a female into the team's hotel. Remember, hotels are kind of like on lockdown just due to coronavirus and testing and all that. A man even had to put on a jersey trying to sneak him in to get him a little bit. Got to be smart, fellas. Speaking of visitors, though, the NBA is allowing guests after the first round of the playoffs. That's right. Players will be allowed to have guests after the first round, but they can have 4 guests. And kids that are under 32 inches tall don't even count among the 4. After a 7-day quarantine, the guests will be allowed to hang on the campus and even attend games, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. Now, here's some notable exceptions. To be invited in, you have to have established a long-term personal friendship. So these guys that are down there, swiping right or swipe left, whichever way you do it, meeting chicks online, trying to fly them in, that's not going to work in the bubble. Woj said, individual player has not previously met in person or with whom the player has had limited in-person interactions cannot allow her into the bubble. So it can't be, basically, as a lot of the other sports guys have been talking about, you can't bring your side chick in there. Or just some chick you just met offline. Now, big ups to Stephen Curry. He's got his own shoe brand deal with UA, kind of like Michael Jordan. Alvin Gentry is out as coach of the Pelicans. Now, I'm upset with the Pelicans, how they handle Zion Williamson. I mean, the dude's been off for 4 months, and he looks like he gained weight, and the entire bubble seeding 8th night matchup to see who makes the playoffs was based on Zion, yet they only played him 10 to 15 to 20 minutes a game for fear that he'll either get hurt or he's so out of shape. I mean, phenomenal talent, but they have to figure out what they're going to do with him. He needs to lose probably 30 pounds. Take some of that pressure off those legs, stop eating that good New Orleans food 24/7 and get in some peak shape. Suns, though, in the bubble play some great ball going 8-0. They gained some respect around the NBA. TJ Warren was on fire. I mean, never in his career had he had back-to-back 30-point games. And then he gets to the bubble and does it back-to-back. And the Spurs playoff streak came to an end. What a run. 22 seasons in a row. So let's put this in perspective. The last time the Spurs did not make the playoffs, Allen Iverson was a Rookie of the Year. It was Kobe's rookie year in the league. Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield in a championship bout. Tiger Woods won the Masters at 21, and the first Harry Potter book was released. That's how long ago it was since the Spurs made the playoffs. So much respect to them and Popovich and the Spurs Nation for that amazing run that they actually had. Damian Lillard, he's completely lost his mind in the bubble. Dropped 61 versus the Mavs. Willed his team into the playoffs. There could be a major problem for the Lakers. I'll give it to y'all in a minute when I discuss matchups. I don't know if I'm going to say yet. I still have the few minutes before I get there, before I decide who is going to win that series. I was talking to my brother-in-law about it the other day and several friends. That matchup is going to be really tough for the Lakers, but I'll dive into that here in a second. All right. So the NBA regular season's all over. They picked up, they had the shutdown, then they had the bubble. The bubble worked. There have not been any positive tests lately at all. Outside of Jaylen Brown complaining about mental fatigue and being in the bubble is bad for his mental health because the only thing he can think about is basketball. Outside of that, it's been great. I mean, the virtual fans have been awesome. The games have been pretty competitive. The angles of the camera look legit. So, again, back to Jaylen Brown. I mean, there are people out here that, have to go to work every day. Their job puts them at risk, and they don't have the luxury of staying at a resort, chilling, playing golf, fishing, hanging out all day, playing video games. So, Jaylen, I can't feel bad for you. I mean, you're getting paid a couple $1 million to play basketball, and then when you're not playing in the basketball game, you can go play golf, or you can go fish, or you can play video games, or you can just lounge around. And after the first round of playoffs, you can bring in 4 people. So you can bring in your family members and your girlfriend and whoever else you want to. So, man, be quiet. I mean, there's so much more things going on in the world. Like I think I said it last week, where with so much complaining by the players about the bubble, you end up possibly losing fans based on the fact that you're staying in a luxury resort and there are people in the world that are having to still work and provide for their families in the midst of this pandemic, and they're not being tested every day. You get tested daily. I mean, I get I can only focus on basketball thing, but you're kind of losing people. You lost me on that one. I'll just say that. So the playoffs are set. So I'm going to begin, since the regular season's ended, I'm going to go ahead and give my awards for the year, and then I'm going to dive into the first round matchups and who I think is going to win them. All right, first off, NBA Coach of the Year. Now, the finalists were Mike Budenholzer for the Bucks, Billy Donovan for the Thunder, and Nick Nurse for the Raptors. All 3 guys had great seasons. Now, Budenholzer won last year. Kind of expected them having another great season, even though their point differential and all that are just at one of the all-time best seasons of all time. But Billy Donovan, I mean, think about it. When that trade of Westbrook and Paul George happened, I think they had like a 1% chance by ESPN's poll to make the playoffs. And then Nick Nurse, I mean, they won the title, yes, last year. But then they lost Kawhi Leonard, so they had to change their identity. I don't think people expected them to be as good as they are, sitting at 53-19. So again, all 3 guys, phenomenal years. You can almost give it to Donovan and Nurse, but I'm going to go with Nick Nurse. The Raptors came off a championship, lost Kawhi, but Siakam turned into their top dog. Lowry's had a great job. Fred VanVleet is balled out. The spacing is amazing. The ball movement is amazing. He's got him playing hard. I think this year they're looking to prove that it wasn't just Kawhi that they were successful because of Kawhi Leonard. I mean, keep in mind, there's like something like 17-5 without him last year. So I would go with Nick Nurse for the Coach of the Year. Now, most improved. The finalists are Bam Adebayo, Luka Doncic, and Brandon Ingram. All right, so congrats on all these guys. I mean, Bam, he went from 9 points to 16 a game. Luka, his rookie year, he was 21, 8 and 6. He increased to 21, 9 and 9. Brandon Ingram went from 18 to 24 points. Really got out of the shadow of the Lakers. Became an all-star this year. Number 1 option for the Pelicans. Congrats to all those guys. I'm thinking Brandon Ingram for the NBA. They'll give it to him, but I don't think he deserves it. The most improved player in the NBA is Devontae Graham. Not even close. I don't understand why he's not even a finalist. The young man went from averaging 5 points to 18 points. He played 15 minutes a game last year. This past season that just ended, he played 35 minutes. That is what the most improved player consists of. Luka was a borderline all-star his rookie of the year, already averaging 20, what was he at, 28-6? He increased to 28, 9-9. I mean, great. I'm not taking anything away from Luka. I'm not taking away from Brandon Ingram, but Devontae Graham, I mean, especially at the beginning of the year, I mean, and he was cooking people. You know, to go from 5 to 18 points in 1 year is amazing. 3 assists to 8 assists. That's the most improved player. Argue me if you want to. I think the NBA got that one completely wrong. I think it's more or less a out of sight, out of mind. The NBA went on hiatus back in March. The Hornets were not asked to come to the bubble. So a lot of people have forgot how great of a season Devontae had. And so that's why I think he wasn't, added to the list of most improved players. Sixth man of the year. You have the finalists, Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, and then Lou Williams. Okay, on this, I'm going to go with Oklahoma City guard, Dennis Schroeder. Again, they're supposed to be a lottery team. He's really embraced his role. He averaged 19, 3 and 3, really complimented Chris Paul. I think Montrez and Lou kind of cancel each other out. I mean, they both come in at exactly the same time each game for the most part. Great seasons, Williams had 18-6. Montrez was 19-7. Also had averaged a block a game. But I'm going to go with Dennis on this for the sixth man of the year. I just think he had a bigger impact because just of the fact that Montrez and Lou kind of did the same thing last year. Their numbers are similar, and they just added Kawhi and PG to the mix. I think Dennis was an integral part of the Thunder's success coming off that bench, especially all those years that he had spent in Atlanta starting. Defensive player of the year. This was a tough one, actually, for me. You had Giannis, AD, and Rudy Gobert. I'm still looking at their numbers and things like that. Davis had a great year defensively. Actually was able to take a lot of the pressure off of LeBron. Rudy's, he's a beast on the glass. He can cover so much ground. Really protects the rim. One of the best rim protectors in the NBA. But I'm gonna go with Giannis on this just because, he's a freak. The everything that the Bucks do revolves around Giannis. Everything offensively, everything defensively. He's athletic enough and long enough and quick enough and big enough to switch out to guards, then to get back, protect the paint, play the passing lanes. I think he just had one of, I think, 3 players to average more than 10 rebounds, a block, a steal, and over 5 assists a game. Something crazy like that I was reading. I forgot the number, but his stat line is just crazy, even from a defensive standpoint. So that's the defensive player of the year. I go with Giannis. All right, rookie of the year. This is a no-brainer. I even before the hiatus, I don't understand how anybody could say that Zion Williamson was the rookie of the year. He played like 20 games. Ja Morant got drafted by the Grizzlies, lottery team, second pick in the draft, and turned them into, before the hiatus, they were in the playoffs. They still made it to the play-in game, even after Jackson got hurt. They're a young power forward. Like Kendrick Nunn, I guess you have to have 3 people on the ballot to make it legit. I don't know. This is all Ja. Easy. Clippers made the 8th for the shutdown. Zion, he might be a generational talent. But he's not in shape. The Pelicans don't even know what they're doing with him. He's playing 15 minutes a game. This is, if they give it to Zion, the NBA is just rigged. That's like, not as much controversy, but it can still be some controversy back in the day when they gave the rookie of the year to LeBron over Melo. LeBron was 25-5, and Melo he led him in scoring, had I think 6.1 rebounds and like 1.9 assists, something like that. But the Nuggets went to the playoffs in the West, but they still gave the Rookie of the Year to LeBron. It's not to that extent. That year, I think Carmelo should have got it, but this is a no-brainer. Morant is the Rookie of the Year, period. And even with all that, yes, Williamson averaged 23 and 6, but Ja was up there 18.7 assists. It's not like he was a 12-point-a-game guy, and Williamson just played 20 games, and there was rookies all the other rookies were trash. No, nothing like that. So Morant's the Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. Okay, so here we go. MVP of the NBA this year. So the three finalists, I'll give you their stats. James Harden for the Rockets, 34 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. Giannis, 30 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists. Then LeBron, 25 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists. Year 17 leads the NBA in assists. Tough call. I think due to the record of the Rockets, James is out of the running. You can argue LeBron's not the MVP of his own team because I think AD leads the team in like 6 categories. Who cares? It's because LeBron allows him to. When he goes to the bench, the Lakers are horrible. But just taking this year, and I get it, year 17 for LeBron, so it's like, whoa, look what he's doing at year 17. If you take away year 17, I mean, his stat line this year is it's probably not even his top 5 or 6 seasons out of the 17. So I'm going to go with Giannis for MVP. I'd be shocked if he doesn't get it. I mean, his PER is amazing. Their point differential as a team is through the roof. I mean, his numbers are crazy, and he's doing it in 31 minutes a game. So imagine his numbers if he's playing 38, 39 minutes, something like that. I'm going with Giannis to be the MVP this year. I'd be shocked again if they give it to LeBron. If they do give it to LeBron, it's probably an award that they give to him based on having such a phenomenal year at year 17, not for having a better year than Giannis. Giannis' numbers are just crazy, period. Now, who's to say what they do in the playoffs? It's a different game then, but MVP for the regular season, I would have to go with Giannis. All right, so those are my awards. So again, Coach of the Year, Nick Nurse. Most Valuable Player, I think it should be Devontae Graham. I think the NBA is going to give it to Brandon Ingram. Sixth Man of the Year, Dennis Schroeder. Rookie of the Year, Ja Morant. And MVP, Giannis. Okay, so now we're in the playoffs. Now, in the West, this might be the best opening round of the playoffs of all time. Seriously, 1 through 8 is just stacked. I mean, you think about it. The Blazers last year went to the Western Conference Finals. And due to a slow start and an injury to Nurkic, they barely made the playoffs. So, I mean, they're actually peaking right now. No, they're not great defensively, but they're actually peaking right now. Gary Trent Jr. is playing some great basketball. Melo's found his groove, proved that he's not washed. And Dame is just, whew, I mean, think about it. So, that first matchup. So I'm going to give you the matchups, and I'm going to dive into each one of them. So the 1-8 matchup is Lakers versus Blazers. This might be the best opening round playoffs of all time. The Blazers are the 8th seed coming from last year where they made the Western Conference Finals. I mean, they had a slow start. They had to acclimate Melo to the game, to the season, the big injury to their center, Nurkic. I mean, they barely made the playoffs, but they're in. They're actually peaking at the right time. No, they don't play great D. Gary Trent Jr. is balling out. Melo's found his role, and Dame is playing, some of the best basketball, some of the best stretch of basketball that a lot of people have ever seen. So that 1-8 matchup is Lakers versus Blazers. Great run by the Blazers to make the playoffs. I think they're going to give the Lakers some problems. No one for the Lakers can guard Dame. They're going to really miss Avery Bradley and Rondo this series. But I think playoff LeBron mode is about to be activated. I personally think he coasted in the regular season to get AD comfortable, play through AD, get him acclimated on how to dominate. And now I think LeBron's going to step to the forefront and just go bananas. We're looking at that regular season of 25, 7, and 10. I think is going to turn into more or less, let's say like 32, 8 and 8, 34, 7 and 7, something like that. I really think he's going to push his offense and start scoring more, attacking the paint, taking more jump shots. Hard fought series, but I'm going to go Lakers 4, Blazers 2. And I know some friends are already picking the Blazers, and I almost did. I thought about it. I'm going to go with Lakers. I just don't see LeBron losing the first round. I don't. I just don't believe that's going to happen. All right, the next matchup, though, is a 4-5. That's the Rockets versus the Thunder. Okay, now this matchup I'm only going to say this if Westbrook doesn't play. So he's already out game 1. So I think the whole series depends on games 2 through 7, if they need 7, and if Westbrook's available to play. If he can't play, I'm going with the Thunder. I mean, the whole trade of Capella was to unleash Westbrook to attack the basket, go downhill, spread the floor with the shooters. If it's just Harden out there and Eric Gordon or Austin Rivers as your second lead guard, I don't think that works. So then that undersized game that they play is neutralized by the fact that you don't have that ultra athletic player that can just run a high ball screen or just take his man one-on-one and get to the paint, and then either there's help and a kick or it's finished with a layup. So without Westbrook, I think the Thunder will beat them. With Westbrook, I think they'll squeak by, but it all depends on how effective Westbrook can be. Now, what a story, though, for CP3 if we were to knock off the Rockets. You got to remember, he kind of got blamed for their shortcomings the last few years in the playoffs. One was an injury. There's nothing you could do about that when people get hurt. But I think he'll be really, really, really satisfied if they knock the Rockets out. So again, depending on Russ, I'm going to the fact that I don't think Russ is going to play. But if he plays, Rockets. If he doesn't play, Thunder. Okay, so let's see how that goes. The 2-7 matchup is the Clippers and Mavs. I think this will be a fun series to watch. The Mavs can score with anybody. I don't think they have enough guys to stop the Clippers. I think the Clippers basically just coasted through the whole regular season. They didn't want to get hurt. They're just ready for the playoffs. I think they're going to be very good as long as Marcus Morris fits into his role and doesn't think he's the second or third option. He's the fourth or fifth option. I think they'll be just fine. I think Kawhi is going to, play amazing. I think they need to go through him. I think PG is going to have, a great series, high-scoring games. I look for every game to be at the 110, 120 range. Luka's going to do his thing, get his first taste of playoff basketball, as with Porzingis. I don't think they have enough. You got to find out how they're going to hide Luka with the Clippers because he's not a great defensive player. So PG or Kawhi can really attack him. But it'll be a great series for Luka. He's going to put up near triple-double numbers because he has the ball in his hand so much. Hardaway's going to have he's had a great season, but I think the Mavs year run is going to come to an end in the first round. And that last matchup in the West is the 3-6 Nuggets and Jazz. I don't want to spend too much time on this one. I think it's going to be Nuggets relatively easily. Mike Conley just left the bubble because of his birth of his son, so congrats on that, though. I don't think the Jazz have enough offensively. Donovan Mitchell will get his. I mean, they're going to really miss Bogdanovich. They've missed him, this entire, I think since they've been back in the bubble. But I think the Nuggets are going to roll. I mean, Joker's going to have, he facilitates all their offense, so he's going to pull. He will pull Rudy Gobert away from the rim, which leads to attacking lanes for Murray and Michael Porter Jr., So I'm going with the Nuggets on that, 4-1, something like that. Out in the East, the matchups aren't as intriguing as all. I mean, like I said, the West is some of the best basketball for a first round you'll ever see. In the East, it's kind of, you already know, you can just pencil it in. Magic Bucks. I mean, come on. Bucks in 4. They might win. The Magic might win 1 just because there's no such thing as home court advantage. Well, I take that back. They might not win 1 because you know how it is in the playoffs. You go down 3-0 and then the better team comes into game 4. They kind of slack off and relax a little bit. And then the crowd pushes the home team to win that 1 game. So you get your little gentleman's sweep. That's what I'm looking at with the Bucks. Giannis is too much. The loss of Jonathan Isaac really hurts the Magic's chances. Bucks rolling. The next matchup is Pacers and Heat. You all remember all the beef between T.J. Warren and Jimmy Butler. Well, Butler say, that's in the past. I still don't think the Pacers have enough to beat them. I'm going to go with the Heat in that series. Jimmy's got his shooters. Robinson, Hero. I don't think that series would be as competitive. It'd be competitive. I shouldn't say that. But I'm going to go with the Heat winning that series. Then you got the Celtics versus the 76ers. This Simmons is hurt. Embiid is hobbling into the playoffs. They're not. The Celtics this will be a win for the Celtics. If anything, I would be wondering if Brent Brown's sitting there thinking like, man, I wonder what it'd be like if I had Jason Tatum with Embiid and Simmons. The series is not going to be very competitive. I look for Brown to be fired after the season's over, and then the Sixers decide what they're going to do with Embiid and Simmons. If they're going to keep them together for 1 more year with a different coach, or they're just going to move. Trade one of them. Most likely, whether NBA's played today, probably trade Embiid, but you can get more for Simmons. And then lastly, the last first round matchup I'm going to discuss this week, Raptors versus Nets. The defending champs will win the series, but you got to give the Nets and Jacques Vaughn some credit. They're playing some really good basketball. They're missing what? They're missing Durant, Kyrie, DeAndre Jordan. Was it Dinwiddie? They're missing the 3 top players, but I just think the Raptors are on a mission. They'll make quick work of the Nets. Karis LeVert's going to have a great series, though. He's a bona fide. He's looking good. He's a great off the ball, off the dribble basketball player. But I think the Raptors have too much for the Nets to make that series more than 6 games. So in the semifinals, I'll have the Lakers and Thunder, depending on Westbrook. Clippers versus the Nuggets. And the East, Bucks versus the Heat. And then Celtics versus the Raptors. We'll dive into all that next week, see if my predictions are right so far. And, that's it. That wraps up today. Let me know what you think. I'd like to know all your thoughts. I'm going to dive into the semifinals next week and then give my championship prediction on the next podcast. Until then, as usual, everybody, be safe and stay blessed. I'm out.